What is a great TV show that never became popular? Awake. It was a show starring Jason Isaacs where he simultaneously lived in two separate timelines. He was in a car accident with his wife and son. So in one timeline, his son dies and he still has his wife. But in the other timeline, it's his wife who dies, while his son is still alive. And roughly he swaps between the two timelines when he goes to sleep. He also plays a detective, and that comes into play as the worlds sort of run in parallel, and he uses information from one world to solve crimes in the other. That was kind of an ancillary part of the show, and was just there to give this guy a mission. The show only lasted 13 episodes, but had some serious potential. This show was so heavy, emotionally. I really wanted it to keep going, but I do think the writers saw the end coming and tried to wrap it up as best they could before it got cancelled. First, I have to point out that I am not making this up. Salvage 1 Andy Griffith plays the owner of a salvage yard who, in the first episode, has managed to purchase surplus rocket engines from NASA, which he uses to build his own rocket ship. Why? Because there's valuable salvage in space. He launches the rocket from his salvage yard successfully, collects a dead satellite, returns it to Earth and melts it down just as the government agents arrive too late to catch him in the act. After that it's like the Incredible Hulk. Salvage guy flies, while government agents try to catch him. Trust me. As a kid, this was the bomb. Edit. Web link. Fun fact, the blueprints for Salvage I the spaceship are part of the background for the opening of Archer. That's a quintessential fun fact right there. I had fun reading it. Almost Human, a future cop, Carl Urban, doesn't like that all detectives get assigned a robot partner. He gets stuck with a previous generation model, Michael Ealy, and together they solve crimes and eventually start to become friends. It was actually a really good show. They just should have waited 4 to 5 years to make it because sci-fi shows weren't as mainstream and popular in 2013 as they are now. They had just finished the first season and fleshed out a totally interesting world and premise, then pulled the plug. What a effing travesty. Literally searched for this show to find your comments since it's pretty much at the top of this list for me. I was at a con where Carl Urban was doing a panel after it had finished airing but wasn't cancelled yet. A fan prefaced his question by saying Almost Human was his current favorite series. You could just tell by Carl's face that he expected this poor guy to be very disappointed soon. He didn't say anything and answered the guy's question just fine, but at that point I don't think anyone thought they were going to get renewed. I really liked the series myself and was pretty bummed about it getting canned. It still has decent rewatch value, but damn, I want to know more. One world-building bit that stuck with me was a line of poor people standing in line for a government service and they all were wearing new-looking clothes. Manufacturing of consumer goods like clothing was so cheap that excess was pretty much being discarded, or at least marked down to pennies on the dollar. Fox reordered and played the episodes out of order to F it from the start. How is it that Fox always does this? 'Cause Fox doesn't like or know what to do with sci-fi series. No, I don't get it either. My roommates and I called it Brobots and we loved it so much. The dynamic between the two leads was delightful. Party Down. Such a stellar cast, great premise, but got kneecapped when their eventual stars all got bigger gigs. Jane Lynch went on to do Glee, Adam Scott landed his gig on Parks and Rec, and the show ended after 2 seasons. Still one of my favorite comedy shows. Are we having fun, yet? Ken Marino, who plays the catering manager with a gargantuan penis, is the most talented comedic character actor that's never actually made it big. I've been following him since his days in, and can't really understand why. Dude has the of things that have been actually funny for the past 25 years. He absolutely kills in everything he's in. But still most people don't know who I'm talking about when I reference him. Web link. I want to dip my balls in it. Don't forget Wet Hot American Summer, so many A-listers 10 years before they were A-listers. Yes, another Party Down fan. That show was the best. This is the one. Stellar cast, amazing writing, characters were endearing, and timing/delivery made it feel unscripted. Please give me a reunion episode. Happy endings. A great little comedy that deserved better. Eliza Coupe and Damon Wayne Jr. had such fantastic chemistry, one of my favorite TV sitcom couples ever. I also loved her in Future Man, especially because it was such a different show. Another one cancelled too soon. She was the best part about the Scrubs spin-off / final season. Damon Wayne Jr. is so funny. He needs to be in more things. Came here to say happy endings as well. Casey Wilson as Penny is iconic. She's amazing. Year of Penny. To date, happy endings being cancelled is still the one that hurts the most. That and news radio should have been much bigger. Those are two of my favorite sitcoms of all time, along with 30 Rock, Seinfeld, Community, Frasier, and Arrested Development. I came here to say happy endings. Based on your other favorite comedies, I feel like I really need to watch news radio. There are two comedies from the early 2010s that I wish had come out just a few years later when streaming was really taking off more: Happy Endings and Don't Trust the Bitch in App 23. Both would have found audiences had they been Hulu or Netflix shows just a couple years later. Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23 is outstanding. The cast was incredible. Kristen Ritter and James Van Der Been were exceptional. It's also funny to see Eric Andre in a normal role. Just the right level of ridiculous, so charming. I could have watched so many more seasons. For some reason it didn't appeal to me when it was advertised. I watched one episode and I was hooked. The name killed it. It's such a terrible name and such an amazing show. Selfie is another great show that the name just murdered. Don't Trust the Bee was also seriously damaged by ABC's mind-boggling decision to release the episodes. For example, there are episodes written / shot for Season 1, that didn't air until the end of Season 2. Characters break up, then confusingly are shown back together. One character is preparing for a big TV event, then the show suddenly shoots forward to after the event, then jumps back to during the event, then the next episode they're preparing for the event as if it hasn't happened yet. I'm not surprised TV audiences hated trying to follow this mixed-up episode release order. Hulu even still has the episodes completely out of order. It's baffling. Web link. Megan Mullally as Casey Wilson's mom was such great casting. Great writing. Great characters. ABC did it dirty. I think it would have had a better chance if it came out just a couple years later. I really enjoyed Warehouse 13, but I have not met anyone else who has heard of it. I loved it in Eureka. The Warehouse 13 / Eureka era was like a golden era of shows on the Sci-Fi Channel. In my opinion anyway. Warehouse 13, Eureka, Stargate. Then Sci-Fi decided it was sci-fi, and wrestling was apparently science fiction. Come for Saul Rubinek. Stay for the Sci-Fi guest stars. Loved Warehouse 13. If you haven't already, check out The Librarians. There is 3 films and a series, similar premise. Heard of it, and totally loved it. My wife and I would watch, and even came up with our own artifacts from history they should use. Really missed that show. I don't know why, there are literally dozens of us. It was also my introduction to Jamie Murray. Better Off Ted. Viridian Dynamics, competition, whether it's animals, or this old woman and baby fighting to the death, competition makes us stronger. In business that means better products, pills that look like candy, hands that can shoot lightning, and a new generation of hurricane-proof dogs. Viridian Dynamics. Competition. It makes everything better. Viridian Dynamics, diversity, just the thought of it makes these white people smile. We believe everyone works best when they work together, even if they're just standing around. Just like we enjoy varieties of food, we enjoy varieties of people. Even though we can't eat them. At Viridian Dynamics, we're committed to a multi-ethnic workplace. You can shake on it. Viridian Dynamics. Diversity. Good for us. Don't forget the handshake was both white hands. Hilarious. This Is My Boat, too. It's a effing charming workplace comedy. I was blown away. I had never heard of it and binged the whole thing on a whim. Yes, this show. And the fake commercials. I think it hit too close to home for corporate advertisement. Teamwork, it keeps our employees grounded. Carl Gordon Jenkins. Pushing Daisies got cancelled during the 2007 writers' strike. It's kind of old at this point but remains one of my favorite all-time shows in all its unfinished glory. Came here to say this. It had the coolest aesthetic in terms of costume/set/filming style. And a genuinely interesting plot. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I think it's just the coolest concept. I have both seasons on DVD, haha. Check out the show Wonderfalls. It's by the same writer, stars Lee Pace, and is also magical realism. So good. And Dead Like Me. Travelers S1 and S3 are stellar, raving reviews too. The shtick where a newly arrived traveler sees undestroyed Earth for the first time and just can't believe it, it's a feeling that nothing else can quite compare to, and I'm getting queasy again just writing about it. Also great characters, just the right mix of clever but not too serious/heavy, and the whole premise is of course extremely effing relevant. Hey, I worked on that show. I was a production assistant on S1. It was fun. Eric McCormack is a really nice guy. This made me happy. Thank you for sharing. HBO's Karini Vale, a wonderful and strange Depression-era story about the forces of good and evil as a bunch of carnies make their way through the Dust Bowl. It was tragically cancelled after 2 seasons, but is an absolute must-watch. This show was great, and Clancy Brown shows just how scary he can be. Jericho, cool premise. Space above and beyond, gritty sci-fi is always great. Loved Jericho so much. I'm glad they had a heads up that it was getting cancelled and cobbled together somewhat of a conclusion in the second half of season 2. That hasty conclusion made me really want to see what they could have done with more time because although rushed, it was an interesting world they built. Came here hoping for Jericho. Very promising show, I'm still sad it got dropped. Dead Like Me. Very underrated show. If you've never heard about it, this is all you really need to know to start off. The main character, a young female slacker, gets killed in the first 10 minutes by a toilet seat falling from an abandoned space station that burns up in the atmosphere. She then gets recruited as a Reaper. Her job is to basically separate people's souls from their bodies shortly prior to their death so that they can transition to the afterlife without the trauma of their deaths weighing on their souls. It's a dark comedy that is profoundly deep at times. It also stars Mandy Patinkin in a supporting role. It was a great show. Edit. Wow, this really exploded, didn't it? I live in Vancouver and I can't walk through that area without remembering the toilet seat. It was filmed where I used to work. Anyone who has not seen Dead Like Me needs to know that while people say there is a movie, there is no Dead Like Me movie, there is only rage and sadness in a DLM box. Seriously, the show is so good but the movie ruined the show worse than Crystal Skull ruined Indiana Jones. Do not watch IT but absolutely do watch the show. Can I ask, does the series have an ending? I hate watching shows that just get cancelled without getting something of a resolve. If it does actually tell a full story, I'm on board. It does not have an ending. The show was cancelled after season 2. A movie was made some time later to wrap everything up, but watching it can ruin the show for you because it's that bad. I'd never even heard of the movie. What's bad about it? What's it like? It's like it was written by people who never watched the show. Rube had to be written out because Mandy Patinkin was busy on another show and his replacement was insufferable, had none of the charm of Rube, and there was no attempt to fill the void he left. Daisy had to be recast because Laura Harris was also on another show, and the actress that they cast seemed to make the bare minimum attempt to be anything like Daisy, which might not be fully her fault since the writing didn't help. Most importantly, there were clearly established rules set up by the show, like not revealing yourself to the living, that were completely ignored with none of the consequence the show outlined. And the plot was, overall, complete nonsense. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.